Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on in to Beat the Book. As always, I am your boy Big Al Better. This is NFL Week 14. Week 13, quick recap for you guys if you're new to the channel. The way we do the Sunday videos, I give you guys my 5 locks of the week. Those are my favorite bets, over, under, and spread on the whole slate of games. We don't do prime times in there. It's just the 10 a.m. Pacific time games and then the 1 o'clock Pacific time games. Then we do a touchdown parlay, which is I give you guys 5 or 6 touchdown scores for the whole slate of games for the day. And then same with a prop parlay. I give you guys some of my favorite props for the day. And then we end with a 6-pick teaser, which has my 5 locks in it, plus 1 extra game. We tease that 6 points. It's 6 picks. Most of the time on books, you can get it for like plus 500. So that's what we do for the video. Quick recap of last week was our worst week for locks of the year. So we're going to lead with that. Went 1 of the 5. That is the worst we've done. We had a bunch of four win weeks. We've had some 2s, a bunch of 3s. This was our first 1 win week. So that was bad. The touchdown parlay, prop parlay, those are not really meant to hit. Those are more for fun and for excitement. We got 3 of the 6 on one and 4 of the 6 on the other. But I bet all those lines singly. If you bet them singly, you end up breaking even or making a little bit of a profit usually, because touchdown scores are usually plus money. So if you put, let's say you put $5 on each of those lines and you have a plus 2 or 300 touchdown scorer that scores there, that $5 now is 15 plus your 5 back. You're at 20. So even if you lose a couple here or there, you tend to make your money back. So that's kind of how I do it. We did miss on the teaser. I believe we missed it by 2 lines, which is unfortunate. But even with as good as the NFL is at making lines, there's one-sided games. There's games that don't go the way you think. So anyway, that's the recap of last week. It's one of our worst weeks of the year. 1 of 5 is just not fun. A lot of those games that we expected to be high scoring, just they didn't get there. So that is what it is. Moving forward, we got this week's slate of games. So anyway, guys, welcome on in. Like I said, name's Big Al Better. We do sports betting here, NFL. I do NBA locks of the day every single day that there's an NBA. If there's NBA games on, I got a lock of the day coming out for you guys, unless I'm sick or have some crazy thing happen at work. So without further ado, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe if you guys are new, and let's hop into this thing. For Week 14, there's a whole heck of a lot of games going on. So I'm going to hop right into the locks of the week here. So for the first lock of the week, we're going to be going back to the well of Seattle. They've been an incredible team so far this season. Obviously, they're 9-3. They play great football. They've scored a lot of points, and they've been scoring and beating bad teams like they're supposed to beat them, right? Last week, 26-0 against the Vikings. That's what you're supposed to do to a bad Vikings team. We took the over on that game because I expected the Vikings to be able to do something. Seattle normally lets the team score something, right? I didn't expect a blowout. If we get any sort of points from the Vikings, then we would have been a lot closer to that over, because I think it was 41.5. We had 26 with the Seahawks. All we needed was 14, and if the Vikings should have made it close, it would have forced Seattle to do some more damage, and Seattle kicked a bunch of field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. So that is what it is. You can't change that. So for this week, we're going to go back to the Seattle. Seattle's taking on Atlanta. They're on the road. They've been great on the road. They're 6-1 on the road. They're absolute dominant on the road. They're playing Atlanta. The over set at 44.5. We're going to be on the over. I was thinking about taking a side, but it's 6 or 6.5 points depending on the book you shop, and it feels like you would be on Seattle because they beat bad teams. But when I was looking through Atlanta's slate, they've kept almost all their losses within 3 or 4 points. So if you have a plus 6.5, that also felt like a good side. But I don't trust it because Seattle's been so good against bad teams. So I think the over is just the best play. Looked at of their last 5 games for both teams, they've hit the over in 3 of the 5. Like they've hit this number specifically. Atlanta's actually done it in 4 of their last 5, and Atlanta has scored 23 points on their own in their last 5 games. Each of those games have had at least 23 points. So if we assume, like the book does, that Seattle's going to win this game by 6.5 points, and Atlanta's going to get to 23, that's 23 to 29. That's 52 points. That's an over. So I like it a lot. I don't think Atlanta necessarily gets to the 23, but the trend is that they've been getting to that number. So I think we're going to see an over in this game. Seattle should be able to score and win this game handily. So I think you're looking at somewhere in the realm of 30 to 21, 30 to 20. I mean, if Seattle hits 30 and Atlanta gets anywhere close to 20, we're going to have an over. So anyway, that's what I like. Next, we're going to be taking on the next game. We're going to be looking at the Bengals plus 6. If you don't like the Bengals plus 6, they're at the Bills. Joe Burrow's second game back from that injury. Obviously, they looked good against the Ravens last week on Thanksgiving. But we've got the Bengals at the Bills. I like the plus 6 with the Bengals. That is what's going to go down as the lock. If you guys don't like it, I also like the over 53.5. Obviously, the Bills have been in some high-scoring games. The Bengals have been in high-scoring games. You have a terrible Bengals defense, but they also score a ton of points. So if you think Joe Burrow's going to go in there and the boys, they're going to score a bunch of points, but then they're also going to allow a bunch of points to be scored, that just bleeds into overs. I think the Bengals were like 7-10 to overs in the first 10 weeks. It was something just insane because their defense just doesn't stop anybody, and their offense is good enough with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Chase Brown to be able to score points, even when Joe Flacco's your quarterback instead of Joe Burrow. Now that Joe Burrow's back, This is a huge game. The Bengals, if they can win this game, they know the Steelers or the Ravens are going to lose because they're playing each other. So this is a perfect opportunity. You need to go into Buffalo. You need to steal a win and get the job done. We get 6 points with a team that I think can go in there and win. And so I like the Bengals +6. It feels great to me. Joey Burrow's back. That's all I need to know to be able to bet on the Bengals. Next, for a third lock, we've got the Colts taking on the Jags. Obviously, if you guys know the history, the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014. They're 1.5-point favorites, I think, in this game. They're favorites or underdogs. I think the line may have flipped a little bit, whatever. We're going to be on the over in this game. Jacksonville has been scoring points at home. They've been allowing people to score points at home. The Colts have one of the better offenses in the league this year. They've had a couple hiccup games, but for the most part, they're scoring tons of points. 3 of their last 5 have gone over this number, and 3 of the Jags' last 5 have gone over this number. So that feels really good to me. Over 46.5. Like I said, the Colts, they're not going to be able to run the ball. Jacksonville's the best run defense in the league as far as yards allowed. So Jonathan Taylor's not going to have a big game, but I think Daniel Jones will be able to throw the rock and get guys open and involved. And then on the flip side of it, the Colts defense has been good, but without Sauce Gardner now, their secondary was their weakness to start. So I think Trevor Lawrence and the boys should have a pretty good day. So I like the over there. Next, we're going to take the Packers-Bears. I feel bad because I just take tons of overs. Or I take tons of like over-unders versus taking the spreads, but some of these spreads are just ridiculously hard to gauge. So for this one, we're going to Packers-Bears over 44.5. It feels too easy to me to take this one. Obviously, the Bears, they hired Ben Johnson. Their offense has been prolific since he came there. They started the year rough. Since then, they're just scoring 20-something points every single week, right? And then we just saw what the Packers did on Thanksgiving. They've won 3 in a row. They're hot. They're at home. The Bears haven't proven they're going to stop people, so I think we're in line for a shootout and another high-scoring game. So I like the over 44.5 in that game. And then our last pick is going to be the Rams at the Cardinals, also an over 47.5. Obviously, Matt Stafford and the Rams, even in that Carolina game, we had the over. That's the one pick that hit for us last week. They almost had the over by halftime. Our over was 44, I think, and they had 37 at halftime, 38 at halftime. I was like, we only need one more touchdown, and we already hit this, and it's only halftime. So I expect the Cardinals with Jacoby Brissett have been a much higher scoring team, so they should be able to go in there and score a ton of points. And then the Rams have been ridiculously good with Stafford. He's just been balling out. I think he has almost 30 touchdowns already. So, the Rams, Cardinals, over 47.5. Just to run that back, those are our 5 locks of the week. We've got Seattle, Atlanta, over 44.5 total points. The Bengals +6. If you don't like Bengals +6, I like alternative would be the over in that Bengals-Bills game. It's 53.5. Third pick is going to be the Colts, Jags, over 46.5. I think that should be a high-scoring game. Then we got Packers-Bears, over 44.5 in Lambeau. The cold shouldn't affect the Bears. It's cold in Chicago. It should just be 2 offenses going at it with 2 defenses trying to hold on. But if you get some turnovers, you get flip field positions, it should be fine. And then our final pick is going to be the Rams-Cardinals, over 47.5. Feel great about that one. You got Stafford and the Rams with a great offense, and Jacoby Brissett's been able to ball out and score 20 points every week. So that's what I like. Those are our 5 locks of the week. Couldn't feel better about them, and hopefully we go 5 for 5 after going 1 of 5 last week. Moving on, we're going to go into our touchdown score parlay. This one's pretty cut and dried. It got a little bit big on me. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they stay small, but this one's pretty big. Pays out plus 11,429. So for all you math wizards at home, that means if you put $10 down, you'd win $1,100. This is pretty, like I said, it's pretty cut and dried. I feel pretty good about it. I'll just start at the top and go down the list. I got 6 touchdown scores. We got Kinshawn Judkins for the Browns. They're playing the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee's allowed the 4th most rushing touchdowns in the league this year, so that feels great. You just take him. And everybody in that game is plus money except for this guy, and he's minus 125. So for a value play, it's even great because you barely have to pay any juice to get him, and he's the favorite to score in the game. Next, you got Chase Brown. We took him for the Bengals against Buffalo. Buffalo has allowed the most rushing touchdowns in the league this year. So when you factor that in, give me Chase Brown, who's actually had a pretty solid season considering they don't even have their starting quarterback. Next, we got Tyler Warren for the Colts. Jacksonville has allowed a ton of... They've been great against the run, but not so good against the pass, and they've allowed a bunch of receiving touchdowns. So Tyler Warren for the Colts, he should be able to get in the end zone. I like that a lot. He's also plus, I think, like 250. He was a pretty big plus money play. Next, we're going to take Mark Andrews for the Ravens. He had 3 weeks in a row where he scored a touchdown after Lamar came back, and then for the last 2 weeks he has not scored. So I like this bounce back spot especially against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been kind of middle of the road, if not closer to the top, worst team against the pass, and they've allowed a bunch of touchdowns. So look for Mark Andrews. I think he scores this week. He's also plus money. I think he's plus 175. We got Devontae Adams. Not much needs to be said about this. He's minus 150. He's the favorite. I think he has 13 or 14 touchdowns on the season now. He had 2 last week. All this guy does is just get into the end zone, run a little move, and Stafford drops the ball in his hands. He's been ridiculous in the red zone. So give me Davante Adams against the Cardinals. And then our final pick is going to be Courtland Sutton versus the Raiders. Raiders have been atrocious this year, especially against the pass. Allowed a ton of touchdowns. Courtland Sutton, obviously the main guy there for the Broncos. So give me Courtland Sutton to get in the end zone. This feels like that one feels like a slam dunk, and he's plus 150. So yes, give me that one all day long. So those 6 give you that touchdown parlay. That's plus 11,429. I'm just going to run through those one more time for you guys. That's Keyshawn Judkins for the Browns versus the Titans. That's Chase Brown for the Bengals versus the Bills. That's Tyler Warren for the Colts against Jacksonville. That's Mark Andrews for the Ravens against Pittsburgh. That's Davante Adams for the Rams against the Cardinals, and that's Courtland Sutton for the Broncos against the Raiders. All 6 of those guys, almost all of them are plus money. That pays out plus 11,429 over on DraftKings. Moving over, we're going to hit the prop parlay. This one's pretty fun. I always like going through. I'll check defensive stats. I'll check offensive stats. I'll check players' props. I'll go through how they've done this season, all this stuff. It's one of the more fun ones for me to try to just like find that diamond in the rough, if you will. But anyway, this one doesn't pay. It never pays as much as the touchdown parlay one, just because you don't get as much plus money plays. But this one plus 5,300 over on DraftKings. Not bad. Like I said, I do bet all these lines single as well, but. We'll just hop into it. We got Jonathan Taylor under his line of 94.5 rushing yards. Like I said earlier, Jacksonville's the best team in the league against the run, so that just makes too much sense. Next, we got Chase Brown over his line of rushing yards of 51.5. It feels pretty low. He's averaging almost 60 a game, and the Bills are the worst team in the league against the run. So that kind of sells itself. Or they're the second worst, whatever. They're in that top. It's like the Giants, the Bengals, Bills, it's something like that, are the worst against the run. So give me Chase Brown. I thought about James Cook, but the problem with James Cook is I feel like the Bills do a lot more dump-offs to James Cook that don't count as runs, and I could see him ripping the big one we would need to hit his number, and his number's 100 yards. So I didn't want to take him for 100 rushing when he could have 80 rushing and 100 receiving because he's that crazy of an athlete, Instead, give me Chase Brown over 51.5. The Bills are giving up 5 yards a carry, so we just need him to carry the ball 10 times, and he basically falls onto this number. Feels too good to me. Next, we'll take Baker Mayfield for 2 touchdowns. He's playing the Saints. That should be easy for him. And Godwin's back. He was really active in the last game. Ibuka should start to get open again. Yada yada yada. It's just a bad Saints team against divisional, but Baker and the boys are probably going to get hot down the stretch here as they make a playoff push. So I like it. Next, we got Courtland Sutton. I'm going back to him against the Raiders because the Raiders are a bad team. We just need him at his line of 49.5 yards. We're taking the over, so 50 yards for Sutton. That cashes. Then we got Puka Nacua, who's the second leading receiver in the whole league at 100-plus receiving yards. And then we got Jackson Smith-Njigba, JSN, also for 100-plus. He's the leading receiver in the entire league. He had a bad game last week. I expect him to bounce back. So we get Puka for 100, JSN for 100, and that's rounds it out. They're both plus money, just slightly, plus 107 and plus 112, respectively. And that's your 6-pick prop parlay that pays out plus 53.44. If you wanted to get juicy, I was going to throw this in, but it totally spaced my mind. Last 3 weeks, I believe, we've taken Jacoby Brissett over 250-plus passing yards. He's done it in 6 straight games, so definitely go check your books. And if you want to add that leg on here, it probably takes this from a plus 5,000 to a plus 10,000 because he's either going to be plus money or like straight money for the 250. Or you could take out any of these lines you don't like. If Baker 2 touchdowns, which is minus 150, I think, or minus 160, you want to rip that out of there, throw in Jacoby Brissett. You could do that if you'd like. I think the reason I didn't throw him in is because you'd be taking like a same game parlay X because he's in the same game as Puka. So, but anyway, that's what I like. This is a plus 53.44. Like I said, it's Jonathan Taylor under his line of 94.5 rushing yards. Chase Brown over his line of 51.5 rushing yards. Baker Mayfield for 2 touchdowns. Courtland Sutton for over his line of 49.5 receiving yards. Puka Nacua, 100-plus receiving yards. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, 100-plus receiving yards. That's your 6-pick parlay that pays out plus 53.44 over on DraftKings. Shop around, find a book. Maybe you can find this paying out a little bit more. Next, we're just going to jump into our teaser, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Our 6-pick teaser, like I said, we take our 5 locks. We tease those 6 points down or up or down, depending on, in your favor. And then we get our 1 extra pick that we didn't have that I don't necessarily love the main line, but we like the teased line. So let me go through it. Like I said, Seattle, Atlanta, we teased them from that over 44.5 down to over 38.5. We've got the Bengals plus 12 instead of plus 6. We've got the Colts Jags over 40.5 instead of over 46.5. We've got the Rams Cardinals game to over 41.5 instead of over 47.5. We've got the Rams Packers down to an over 38.5 instead of over 44.5. And our final pick is going to be the Broncos tease from a -7.5 against the Raiders to a -1.5. They just got to win the game by a field goal, basically, and we cashed that. I think they win that game outright. The Raiders haven't looked good. So Broncos -1.5 is the final line in that. So just one last time, Seattle, Atlanta over 38.5, Bengals +12, Colts, Jags over 40.5, Rams, Cardinals over 41.5, Bears, Packers over 38.5, and the Broncos -1.5. That is your 6-pick, 6-point teaser. Shop around again. +500 is usually the line at DraftKings. I know FanDuel sometimes gets you at like +420 or whatever. So just shop around, try to find the best line. If you guys are in a state where you're able to play a bunch of different books, don't just play one book when you can get better value at other books. It really helps a lot to be a profitable long-term gambler. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Or sports bettor, not gambler, but you get it. Kind of the same thing. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys in this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys like these picks, let me know what you're riding with. If you don't like them or you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments below. It always goes a long way for the algorithm. And yeah, let's enjoy these games, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.